Baruch, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Not bad, not bad.
What's going on?
Oh, no, it's dimming. Why is that happening? Oh. Are you on the,
I see you,
Oh.
and I see
Yeah.
myself.
Okay, no, are you on, Parshat right now?
Oh, I just put my gun in. I'm about to go through the border control.
Okay,
I'll be up in a few minutes.
okay, no sweat. We're already, signed in live right now. People are starting to join. That's good.
This is my bar mitzvah parsha.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's great. Great. Perfect.
One of Rabbi Kana's favorites.
You know, I was really reflecting on it. It's you know, I mean, it's all about Israel. This parsha. If you do this, if you do that, different mitzvot, then everything's going to work out good. And if you don't, you know, I was just thinking that you know, we focus on Harabayat, and there's so many Rabbanim or Jews that refrain from going up, and that there's a fear. Oh, looks like I just lost Baruch there.
I'm going to.
Guess you're signing in. It just seems that there's this fear. What will the world say if we actually take charge on the Temple Mount? Say that we're uncompromising. It belongs to the Jewish people, and we start the process of the rebuilding of the Beis Mikdash. And there's this fear about that. But look at what's going on in the world right now. Israel is involved in probably the most just war ever against Hamas. And all over the world, you have these protests and some governments caving in, turning on Israel. Anti-Semitism is rampant. And maybe there's a message there that, why don't we just take the initiative and do that which was right already, and take charge of Har Bayit and take charge of the land properly, and stop acting with like a ghetto mentality. Baruch, what do you have to say?
Well, definitely. Everything is connected to the temple and the Temple Mount, for the good and the bad.
Right.
And this whole parsha is all about that. You know, you do good, you get rewarded. You do bad, you get punished. There's no. That's the formula. That's what Rabbi Khan used to always talk about. Constantly was this idea of measure for measure, midah keneged midah. That's Hashem's way. If you're getting punished, you better check what you did wrong, because you're not getting punished for no reason. Here we have the about to go in. Here's the police. Hey, how you doing? So that's the formula. The formula is you do good. You do good, meaning, okay, you're serving Hashem properly, the way He dictated it, according to the Torah. You don't make up your own rules. Interpret it any way you want. Hashem gave us Torah. He tells us in the Torah what has to be done. You have to bring sacrifices. You have to build a temple. You have to have Kohanim and Levim. You have to come up 3 times a year. And all of the whole Jewish life, the real Jewish life, revolves around the temple, not around your house, not around your yeshiva, not around your rabbi. It revolves around the temple And that's why we walk around the temple. On the Temple Mount, we walk around because that's the obligation. The obligation is to get up and come up and to be seen by Hashem. It's a very interesting concept, right? We have this mitzvah, which basically is 3 times a year, to be seen by Hashem. You want to be counted as part of His team. You better be up here and be seen. Because if you're not up here and to be seen, you're not seen. You're not. It's like, well, where are my troops? There's nobody here. What's going on? We've got the ultimate warrior, right? It says when we passed through the waters by the Red Sea, it says Hashem ish milchama. God is a man of war. Okay, so we have the ultimate warrior in God, in Hashem, and so we're supposed to be His troops, His warriors that follow follow His path. But if we're not here, like you said, because of some kind of ludicrous fear of whatever, I don't even understand it, to be honest with you. Right. Then we're basically he has no troops. He has no one to fight his wars. So when we look at the present war that's going on against the Hamas in Gaza, and in Lebanon against the Hezbollah, and against the Houthim in Yemen, and the Iranians, and Syrians, and God knows who else, the Turks. Now we have Ireland and Spain and Norway, and they're all jumping aboard, okay, which is fine, which is good. The more the merrier, okay, because they're all coming down. It's like prophecy happening before our faces, and the people that don't see it are blind, just basically blind, because it's just everything that Rabbi Kana told us, because he was the ultimate commentator, the modern day commentator of the prophets. Everything he taught us about what's going to happen in the end, we're going to be all alone, lose all our friends, we have nobody to rely on except ourselves, except of course God and ourselves. So we have this war, and they basically, again, always it's the enemy dictates to us, explains to us what the war's about. The war, they tell us, it's about Al-Aqsa, right? This building right here, which is a Islamic mosque built on a Byzantine church, and has nothing to do with the Temple Mount, of course, because it's really outside the real borders of the Temple Mount. But it signifies, in their mind, what this place is supposed to be. They call this entire place here, the entire Temple Mount, they call it Al-Aqsa. If you see their publications, they send out, the settlers are storming Al-Aqsa. This is called storming. This is the settlers here, like we see here right now. This is what's called settlers storming Al-Aqsa. Okay, but they can do it. Is everything today is nothing. You can't believe anything you read today. You can't believe anything you see. Everything's fake, and so we're storming here. We're storming Al-Aqsa. What we're doing is we're walking around the Temple Mount, walking around the place where the temple stood. We don't care about Al-Aqsa. Al-Aqsa doesn't mean anything to us. It's a nothingness. And on the spot where the temple stood, there is a monument. It's not even a mosque. It's called the Dome of the Rock. It's a monument to the temple. That's what it was really built as. Unfortunately, of course, as history is rewritten, revisionist Islamic historians will say, no, the Dome of the Rock is a mosque. It's whatever, but it's not a mosque. It's not used as a mosque, and that's an issue that has to be dealt with, because this dome of the rock is sitting on our place of our temple, where we need to rebuild it. So it's going to have to be removed, along with a lot of other buildings. But like I said, Al-Aqsa doesn't even interest us. It doesn't have anything to do with the Temple Mount. And but they're telling us, in the fact that they've called this war the Storm of Al-Aqsa, and they call their fighters the Al-Aqsa warriors, or whatever they call themselves. and the Intifada Al-Aqsa. Everything's Al-Aqsa by them because really they're just pawns in Hashem's war. And Hashem is telling us through them, hey, guys, wake up. They're calling this place Al-Aqsa, my home, the place of my palace, where you're supposed to be coming and serving me and bringing sacrifices. They're calling it Al-Aqsa. And you have to put a stop to it. So the war is not, I mean, it's very interesting and nice that we're fighting these wars in Lebanon and Gaza, but the real war is here. This is where the war should have started and ended, right here. Okay, the second before they ever attacked us, of course, but they attacked us when, of course, they attacked us on Shabbat, Shmini Atzeret, the 8th day of Sukkot, which is a special holiday only between Hashem and the Jews. Right after Sukkot, the 7 days of Sukkot, we say is also a holiday that deals with the entire world and blesses the entire world. But after that, there's an 8th day that's just between us. And that day has become to be known because of the exile as Simchat Torah, the celebration of the Torah, because they finish it every year on Shmini Atzeret. Of course, in Eretz Yisrael, they would only finish it every 3 years. There was no holiday of Simchat Torah, but we'll put that on the side. So on this special, very, very special day, just like 50 years ago, the Yom Kippur War was started on Yom Kippur. Also, a very special day, totally connected to the temple, right? The real holiday of Yom Kippur is a temple holiday. Strictly also with the Kohen HaGadol, the high priest, and the sacrifices, and going into the Holy of Holies, and sending out the scapegoat, and it's all just temple. It's a temple holiday. All what we do today is just a shadow of what we're really supposed to be doing. So again, everything is connected to the temple. Everything is connected to Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, is where the Jewish people are told to live and where they will be blessed. There is no blessing living in the exile. Exile is a punishment which has become a sin, right? You can't. Originally, God punished us by sending us into exile. We're told, and actually in this portion, okay, again, the portion of Bechukotai, my bar mitzvah portion, which is a very important portion, because it deals with the rebuke and the reward and the punishment, right? Like we said. So, what does the rebuke say? The punishment is because you didn't keep the sabbatical years, right? Every 7 years, we're supposed to have a sabbatical year.
Right.
Where we work the land, we work the land. Well, you didn't do that for 49 years. You're getting paid back the entire 70 years of exile that you're supposed to be in Babylon is punishment for not keeping those sabbatical years for 70 sabbatical years. We see clearly the concept of measure for measure. The sabbatical year is a year. In fact, I just in where I davened, we discussed it last Shabbat. It's very interesting. Is that we have three different types of Shabbat. We have the Shabbat, of course, where Hashem created the world on the 7th day and rested, and then ultimately the Jewish people are given the commandment of Shabbat, both because of that Hashem created the world in 6 days and rested on the 7th day, and also because we commemorate the leaving of Egypt every Shabbat, right? When we make the Kiddush, we mention both in memory of the creation of the world and in memory of leaving Egypt. And now we have a third Shabbat. Coming into the land, we get a third Shabbat, which is the Shabbat of the land, which is a very important point because I think a lot of people miss it. People don't understand the concept of Eretz Yisrael, the concept of the land of Israel. Because, okay, what does it mean the land has to rest? The land is not a person. It's not like,
Right.
You can, a person we know needs rest. A person can't just keep, 24/7, keep working. They'll just collapse. The land, okay, you throw some nutrients into the land, and you can just keep the land going all the time. Just keep feeding it more nutrients and just keep planting and that obviously that's a concept that it could be done, but here's a special land that's so holy that it's like a person that needs to rest because it's holy. It's not just resting, like we say, people need to rest. They, even a slave can't work 24/7. He needs to have some kind of rest. But the Jewish people have the Sabbath not just to rest, but also to charge their batteries, as we say, every Shabbat.
Right.
The
Right.
opportunity to learn Torah, to have spend more time praying and of course enjoying the meals together with their families and friends and so on. So Shabbat is not just resting. Shabbat is a much higher thing than resting, and Shabbat of the land is not just giving the land a chance to regroup. It's because the land is the land of Israel is such a holy thing that it needs this every 7 years that we have to let the
Right.
land rest. And then, of course, when we do that properly, we have also the 50th year is the Jubilee year, which is really very special because we release all the slaves and everything goes back to who the land goes back to it belonged to. So that's really the way things should be. But when we don't do what we're supposed to do, then everything gets destroyed and it just gets worse and worse. As we see, if you look at go over it was very difficult to read the rebuke that we read in this portion. It's very hard to read because it's just so bitter and sad that our people had to go through that. What's they went through it. I mean, we know that it happened. It happened during the siege of the Babylonians. It happened during the siege of the Romans, and
Yep.
And they were warned. They were warned. They said you could have a Garden of Eden. You can have a great life. Just keep the Torah. Or you don't want to keep the Torah, all right. Then the downside is the opposite side. The other side of the coin is you're going to have all these bad things happen, and that's I mean that was Rabbi Khan's message constantly
Yep.
telling us.
Yep.
Constantly, and they're about to do kedusha here, the minyan. See, let's
Okay.
bring the minyan for a minute. Let the Jews out throughout the world see that we are praying on the Temple Mount these days.
Yep.
Okay, doing it quietly, of course, but we're doing it. Something that didn't exist until a few years ago.
Right.
Kadosh, 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 and I told him all right, so there we go. We just heard that we did Kedusha here on the minion is doing the repetition, and the police are getting a little antsy. All right, what are you gonna do?
Oh,
Nothing changes. Ben-Gvir's police.
yes.
On Sunday, I was told that there's Ben-Gvir and the minister of Itamar Ben-Gvir, the minister of internal security, national security, and Knesset member Kreuzer, the son of Rabbi Yehuda Kreuzer, who's a Knesset
Sure.
member from the Otzma Yehudit party, are having a conference inside the Knesset about the Temple Mount. Obviously, I wasn't invited because I'm persona non grata, since I'm very critical about how he's handled the Temple Mount issue. I hope this is a sign that things are changing, that they're going to start taking it seriously because, I've mentioned over the years that there's, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that on the one hand, where we see that Jews are praying here openly, yet when we come into the Temple Mount, we go through that rebuke of the policeman saying you can't pray, you can't this, you can't that, you can't do it. Beyond that, also very important, and that's something that I personally, together with some other people, going to be working on very hard in the near future is the whole issue of bowing down. You know that even though they let you pray here, if you try to bow down, they'll grab you and throw you off, and then issue some kind of order to keep you off for quite a while. And I had that when Yom
Mhm.
Kippur. I had bowed down, and then I got thrown off for probably about a month and a half or 2 months till I came back. I think you remember that, but anyhow, that was like right before the war started. So um, bowing down, is a very important part of coming up to the Temple Mount. We're told to come up and bow down to God, and in fact, uh,
Oops, the camera is
every
freezing a bit.
entrance. That's
Uh-huh.
like entrance called. You bow down at every entrance, and then bowing down. Why are the police so? Nobody says there's no Arabs over here. Nobody, no, there's no Arabs watching, looking. It shouldn't bother anybody if people are bowed down here. Why does it bother the police so much? Somebody here, there's a gentleman here that's with us today who wrote a book on it. He basically says the idea that bowing down is a special part of the temple service. It's like praying, okay, praying you can do anywhere. It's not like a special part of the service. Okay? So praying doesn't bother them as much as bowing down, which is specifically connected to the temple service. So that's why he believes, even though, again, it shouldn't bother anybody if somebody for 2 seconds, prostrates himself.
Right.
But it freaks them out. And I could send you, actually, if you wanted to see. He compiled for me, this gentleman, a bunch of videos of people being, you know, picked up, pushed around by the police, arrested,
Right.
detained, whatever, because they bowed down. So we want to make a serious movie out of it and um, show the absurdity of the situation.
Sure.
Try to get some awareness to this ridiculous situation. Uh, but anyhow, this is one of the many problems that we have. So anyhow, getting back to the portion of the week, it starts off, as we're told, it starts off on a very positive note, right? If you keep my laws and my commandments and you guard my Torah, Hashem tells us one of the rewards will be that five people will chase 100,
Right.
100 people will chase 10,000. There'll be peace in your land. You'll have peace, and the sword will not pass through your land. So it's good to look at the Rashi on these. Look at Rashi, who says the following. He says very interesting way. He says, if you do the mathematics properly, if five people chase 100, that means each one is chasing 20. And if
Right.
100 people chase 10,000, that means each one's chasing 100, not 20. There should be 100 chase 2,000. Which
Right.
shows the idea that the more Jews that are doing the right thing together creates a much more successful, it brings a greater blessing and creates a much more successful result than.
Right.
Oh, here's Rabbi. Here's the gentleman who wrote the book on bowing down. I just discussed bowing down. Maybe you can just tell our audience a little bit about the importance of bowing down.
Yeah, right after this.
Oh, okay. He's going to tell us in a few minutes. He wrote. What's this? What happened there? Okay. Okay, he's listening right now to the rabbis giving his Torah, Torah drasha, and in a few minutes he'll talk to us. Rabbi Natan
Right.
Tzvi,
Mm-hmm.
who's a learned scholar, who learns by Rabbi Ariel's kollel here in the old city every day. Kollel
Right.
of the temple. So, I was saying is that Rashi, it's very important to read that Rashi because it shows us how important the unity of Jews is working together to perform Hashem's commandments. And I mean, obviously, it's true. Okay, we're for unity, but for unity to do the right thing, not unity to do the wrong thing. So some people
Right.
believe all unity is good. No, that's not the case. Unity to do bad things is not good. And Rabbi kind of taught us that. Okay, if you
Right.
remember the idea of what happened in the time of the first temple under the king Chizkiyahu, who um, was outnumbered by the traders who wanted to give in and capitulate to the Babylonians and give up, and Chizkiyahu was with the minority, even though he was the king, and he goes to the prophet Isaiah, who was his relative actually, and he says to him, I'm outnumbered, like maybe I should go with the majority and give up. He says no. He says the opinion of a he calls it uh, of a majority that is going that is doing good for bad. A majority that exists to do bad doesn't count. You don't even count them. They're not. It's irrelevant. Okay,
Right.
so as far as you're concerned, you're the majority because they don't count, and therefore you do what's right. And ultimately, he did what's right. The ones that were they wanted to gave up, and the ones that went with Hizkiyahu saw the great miracle that happened, where the Assyrian army was destroyed. 185,000 of their soldiers were killed in a miracle that night. It was Passover night, and the shepherd performed this tremendous miracle that they all died and the whole army ran away, and Jerusalem was saved. So we learn from that this important lesson that just because the majority is against us, they don't count. And that's why also we learn from that concepts of democracy don't exist in Judaism. We don't believe in that a majority dictates what's right and wrong. Doesn't exist. Hashem, God is the king. The king tells us what to do, and he gave permission to have uh, in this world kings to rule over us, to tell us what to do. That's why he tells us in the Torah to appoint a king, because you can't have a society that doesn't have a leader. But he didn't tell us to have democracy.
Right.
Rabbi Kahana's last book, Referendum Revolution.
Oh, your camera just froze up a little bit right now.
Calling, and I keep having to disconnect them, but I guess that's what happened. That's the result. Um, so again, we have this situation where we want to have unity, but for the right thing, not for the wrong thing. Then we have we said before that we're promised that if we do the right thing, that the sword will not pass through the land. Meaning, what Rashi says to us that even armies that are not planning to fight us, but let's say the Assyrian army wants to go through the land of Israel to get to fight Egypt. So what do we care if the army passes through and goes to fight Egypt? But we're told that one of the promises is that their army won't even come through our land. Our land will be immune from foreign armies. Okay, and you'll have peace. Peace meaning, again, remember what peace says here. Peace is you're not going to fight in the land because there won't be any sword won't come into the land, but you will go chase your enemies outside the land. Notice peace doesn't mean um, you know uh, the modern day term of peace, like no fighting, no combat. Peace means, yeah, you'll sit quietly and nicely in your land comfortably, but you'll go outside your land and you'll fight the enemies because they'll still exist. There'll still be a need to fight the enemies. That's the concept of peace in in Judaism according to the Torah. So that's important to look at that Rashi. It tells us a lot, and that's how the Parsha starts off. And then, of course, very quickly after it tells us about all the blessings, it goes to the alternative, the unfortunate alternative, which is the rebuke that we spoke about. Later on, we have a very important haftorah. Here's Rabbi Natan Tzvi, who's going to talk to us about bowing down, the importance.
Yes,
This is throughout the world, the Jewish world.
it's true what he says, that I did write the book Bon Shtachwe. It's Come Let's Bow in English. And so I'll explain real briefly. Look, when someone goes to the Western Wall or a synagogue to pray, so they pray like normal. That would be maybe the 18 brachot, the Shemona Esrei, the Amidah, or the Shema Yisrael, things of that sort, and you're pouring your heart to Hashem. Very nice. So you can come to the Temple Mount and can do the same thing as well, obviously, which is a tremendous mitzvah to do such a thing. However, there's a form of prayer that's been done from ancient times, Abraham Avinu, and that's called bowing down fully. It's the lying down on the ground with your hands spread out to your Creator, to Hashem. And so this can't be done in a regular synagogue or even at the Kotel Maravi, because it's actually forbidden by the Torah to do that outside of the area of the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple, which is the Temple Mount. So the unique thing one can do by going to the Mount is to do the Shtachwaya, which is the bowing down. Elsewhere, it can be done in a manner that is different, meaning if you have a towel that you hold down on the ground, you lie on that, so that can be done. But it's not the same thing, because the main mitzvah is done by the Kohanim, the priests who served in the Holy Temple. They would do that, right on the ground of the Beit HaMikdash. We can't do that fully today, but we could do it. Anyone, even non-Kohen, can do it in the Temple Mount area. So it's one of the most unique aspects of coming to Temple Mount, and it can be done, from the side of the police here. There are some consequences, meaning if you do see it and you're caught, so you might be taken off, you might be given a temporary suspension to come back to Temple Mount, because it's seen as an act that could upset the Muslim world. But for sure, it makes your soul very happy. It makes your creator very happy, and we think that's a little bit more important to keep the Torah's mitzvahs than to do what the police say.
Oh,
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Shakor.
Absolutely.
Do you have it? Is the book also in English, right?
I do not.
Oh, not yet. Okay, the book is not in English yet, but it will be, right? Bezrat Hashem. Hopefully, maybe we can raise the money to get it translated into English and get it out there, because it's a very important book that goes through the entire. I have the Hebrew version, and I've been studying it, and it goes through all of the sources, explaining the importance of this mitzvah to bow down. But of course, we know on Yom Kippur is like the only time that outside the Temple Mount really where Jews as a nation are bowing down, which shows on the most important day, one of the main parts of the service is the bowing down. Obviously, in connection, the bowing down is there as a connection to the temple service as we go through the now the reenactment. Hello?
Yep. Little bit of camera problem. Yep.
People just won't stop. You try to. You don't answer their phone. They just keep calling. So, all right, whatever. Okay, we said we wanted to talk about the Haftorah from the prophet Jeremiah. Very important Haftorah, the Shabbat. Talks about the importance of not. I keep fading out here. The importance of not trusting in man, not putting your trust in the Egyptians and and men and Assyrians and all, just trusting
Yeah.
in Hashem. Was kind of something that Rabbi kind of always spoke about and told us to the importance of not falling for that, and that's what we see today is the problem. Why? I mean, if you look at the present war, okay, and now the Israeli army finally went into Rafiah, and it's finally on the Philadelphia road, and it's finally uncovering all of the tunnels that led from Egypt into Gaza and from Gaza into Egypt, where they were smuggling all these weapons and missiles and money and whatever they've been smuggling in all these years, using these tunnels. And it's not just one tunnel; it's tens of tunnels. So finally it's stopped. Now we hope that they've uncovered most of them. We're not even sure they uncovered all of them. And obviously, the Egyptians got caught because again, why does this exist? Why did they allow this to exist? If there's a so-called peace agreement between Israel and Egypt, they should not have been allowing terrorist organizations to smuggle. But it turns out they obviously been making tons of money. The people involved in that have become very rich. The Egyptians. One of them is Assisi, the president of Egypt's son. Apparently, is in charge of the whole story there.
Wow.
So why should they stop it? They've been making all this money. I mean, think of the billions and billions and billions of dollars of weapons and cash and all the whole flow of things that have gone through. And you say to yourself, oh, wait a second, why from the first day of the war didn't they do that? Why did they wait till it's about 7 months already?
Yeah.
Why did they wait so long? I mean,
Right.
maybe a child understands that. You don't need to be a military expert to understand that this has to be done. And you wonder to yourself, who's running the show here? I mean, these guys are military experts. I mean, really. But then again, you have forget the military experts. You have the prime minister who lets it happen. I mean, he could have put his foot down and said, "Look, we're not going to leave. we're not going to leave them this opportunity to smuggle weapons across, especially since the war started. I mean, the whole idea here was you want to end the war as quickly as possible with minimal damage. So you want to. Here we are now. We're on the northern side here. You want to stop the flow of weapons and cut Gaza off from Egypt. Yet they didn't do it for 7 months. You got to say this. Well, who runs the show here? And obviously, the show here is not run by Netanyahu or the Israeli chief of staff or the defense minister or the Knesset. I mean, the Americans run the show here. Let's face it. Okay, that's unfortunately the reality of what we've seen. To the point where you have this enemy of Israel, this self-hating Jew named Blinken, sitting in government meetings about fighting the war. I mean, why is he in these meetings? I mean,
Right.
What's his? I mean, since when do you let a foreign minister, foreign secretary of state, sit in government meetings? I mean, it's outrageous. And so basically, the Americans have been dictating to Israel what they have to do because, again, we're enslaved to the Americans. They provide us all this weaponry and all this support. And to me personally, I say I'd rather just send the army into Gaza with Uzi and 9mm Uzis and not have to rely on American weaponry at all, and not be behooving to them in any way, shape, or form. And believe me, a few thousand soldiers with Uzis with the proper orders to do a lot more damage than has been done up until now. And certainly,
Right.
at this point, the Gazan Arabs would have reached their destination in Gibraltar once we sent them into the Mediterranean Sea, swimming away. That's what should have happened. Should have been the return let's see if Hashem would split the Mediterranean Sea for them like he split the Red Sea for us. I personally don't think he would do that. Okay, but let's take the opportunity to see. Let's do a little experiment with the Gazan Arabs and send them into the Mediterranean Sea and see what happens. That's what I would have done. I would have sent them swimming away. They can go catch. You can eat fish. They can drink the water. Whatever they want, but they're not. They should. None of them should have been left to stay here. Because remember, this is an important point. Is that there's no concept by the Arabs of non-combatants. I mean, there might be here and there a few handful of good people in Gaza, but for the most part, in fact, most of the damage that was, the murder and the butchery and the rape that was performed by the Arabs and when they attacked on Shabbat Shmini Atzeret, it wasn't done by the Hamas guys. It was done by the Arabs from Gaza, the so-called non-combatants who came along, the thousands of them that came along for the ride and took the opportunity. So I don't hold, when it comes to Arabs, the concept of non-combatants. And that's why the war should have been fought in a way where they're all sent packing. And like I said, they could go swim, and the whole world can come and send boats to pick them up if they want to take in some Arab laborers, and that's why it should have been fought. And so certainly, even if they don't want to fight it my way or the right way, even if it's a conventional war fought the way they want to fight it, there's no way in the world, and I don't care what the Americans or anybody says, that from the very first day, they should have gone and taken over Rafiah and the Philadelphia Road. Now, why? Besides the fact that the Americans didn't want them to do that, and Biden kept repeating that. Well, let's face it. I think the real reason why they didn't do it is because they were afraid of the Egyptian backlash. That's what I think they were really afraid of, more than the Americans, was that the Egyptians would get so upset that it would open up a war with the Egyptians. Which obviously wouldn't have. I mean, anybody with half a brain would understand the Egyptians got caught red-handed. They're not gonna, if anything, just the opposite. They're gonna back off. But instead, they let this happen for 7 months. So that's why, in my opinion, all these people that love Netanyahu and the so-called right-wing government that has Ben-Gvir and Smotrich and all these guys. So to me, it's no right-wing government. It's no great government. It's got a prime minister who, instead of fighting the war properly, he brought in all of these former generals who are basically responsible for the situation we're in today. They were the former chief of staff, Gantz and Eisenkot and all these guys. So we have a real serious problem, which basically we've always had ever since the state of Israel has been created. We've had this problem with leadership. I mean, before the state was created, we had some great leaders like Jabotinsky and Trumpeldor and David Raziel and all these guys, Shlomo Ben Yosef. We had great leaders, but after the state was created, ever since then, besides Rabbi Kahana, I don't see any great leaders.
Right.
What do you say,
right. Well, I fully agree. I mean, it's when you talk about right wing, it was Menachem Begin that together with Sharon as defense minister, that gave up the Sinai to Egypt, signed the Camp David Accords, and just like you said, Egypt was allowing Iran to supply weapons and everything, God knows what, to Hamas, and they're murdering Jews and they're firing rockets into Tel Aviv and all over Israel. So, and nobody is writing about this in the world media about the violation, the obvious violation of the Camp David Accords. It's just a complete, beyond a double standard applied to Israel, and it comes down to it makes absolutely no sense. But when you read the Parsha, it does make sense because we have to do the right thing. And the right thing is to get rid of the galut mentality and assert ourselves. And you start with Harabayat and proclaim it and label the enemy as the enemy and get them out because they want to get us out. And they're 24/7, they're at it to get us out. And they said they want to have October 7th repeated again and again and again. And we have the same leaders. Like, what makes them right wing? What?
Nothing. It's a shame. It's a shame. There's an opportunity. Again, Hashem opens up windows of opportunity, and if you don't take it right away, you wait. They close very, very quickly. Those
Right.
windows of opportunity. I had that after the 6-day war. Every war you have that opportunity. You have that opportunity now, and again, they waited too long. They didn't do what they're supposed to do, or they don't know what they're supposed to do. Whatever the reason may be. But here we are. They think that, okay, so the official Hamas army may be destroyed. So what? Like this, there's one decent Knesset member from the Likud party named HaLevi. He said, "Why are we wasting our time fighting this army? It's not an army, okay? They're terrorists, so they work in small groups. Okay, you have to kill every 2 or 3 Arabs in Gaza to prevent them from attacking us, because that's what they do. They pop up out of the ground, 2 or 3 guys, and they fire a rocket, and then they go back into the ground. So bottom line is, you can't leave them there. That's the only sane conclusion that you could have from what we see going on. So, and also remember what they did. Okay, again, going back to the insanity of everything, is not only did they not go into Rafiach and the Philadelphia Road to begin with, but they sent all the Arabs from northern Gaza down south so they would be protected, and they filled up Rafiach. And then to move them, all those 1 million Arabs from Rafiach, whatever it was a whole story. It delayed the continuation of the war for months. Why would you do that? It was so stupid. I mean, okay, if anything, you want to move these people because you want to protect them, at least send them to the sea, send them to the beach. Okay, listen, on the beach, you can plant a tent, and there'll be a desalination of the water, so you can drink it, and you can go fishing. We'll give you fishing rods, and you can go and take a bath in the water, and you could also swim away if you want, or they can send boats to pick you up. But bottom line is that why would you possibly? And I mean, again, thinking like these people have half a brain, would they send everybody down to Rafiach only to have to move them again? And then, of course, something which created this big problem with the Americans and the world and moving them. And I don't know. It's just I can't believe that people still think that there's any possibility of redemption through these people that are so-called leaders. It's just I don't know, it's beyond me. I really I don't know what to say, because
It is beyond. It's beyond.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I say to people say to me, I said, look, I have two words for you. They start telling me, they start giving me a whole Megillah. I said, I have 2 words. Kahana Tzadak. Kahana was right. Okay.
Absolutely. No question about it.
Forget, there's nothing else. That's it. You don't accept that, then you're either an idiot, a buffoon, or a blind person. But that's it. Okay. It was. I remember there used to be. I remember Adir Zik from the Arutz Sheva station, one of the founders of the Israeli television station, and
Yeah.
he became a big supporter of Rabbi Kahana. And he, after Rabbi Kahana was murdered, he used to say, he said, someday there has to be a line from Rabbi Kahana's grave all the way to Tel Aviv of people standing on line to ask for his forgiveness for not
Mhm.
listening to him. You know, you would think that the day has come for that. You know, instead of people wasting their time protesting against the government, like free the hostages now. I mean, these people like total unbelievable. What do you mean free the hostages now? The only way you're going to free the hostages is to conquer Gaza. Okay, it's obviously stupid to think that capitulating to them is going to free any hostages. But um, instead of wasting their time blocking roads and protesting for freeing hostages, they should be online asking forgiveness for Rabbi Kahana, which would then make a point
Yeah.
that Rabbi Kahana was right, and because he was right, then we have to do what he said and not what everybody else says. Um, but again, that's I guess we've not. It's the situation is not bad enough. It was funny when Rabbi Kahana got elected, I ran into his brother Nachman, Rabbi Nachman Kahana. Um,
Yeah.
I ran into him at the airport, and I said to him, "Oh, Mazel Tov, your brother was finally elected, and I'm sure you're very happy." He says, "Well, I'm happy as a brother, but I'm not happy as a citizen." What do you mean? He goes, "If my brother got elected, the situation's really bad." And which is true. And
Yeah.
and it is bad. It is bad. I mean, the one the one the one redeeming factor that I would say that has come out of this whole thing is to see these kids these kids who everybody expected to not be willing to fight and give their lives. That is the one redeeming factor that I think that because of them, Hashem is gonna in the end bring the final redemption. Or it's the fact that the Jews are willing to be Moser Nefesh to give up their lives for something higher, and we see that here. We see that they're not
Yes.
stopping. That's the one. I mean, Hashem, I'm sure, is taking that into account, and despite everything, that's going to be the deciding factor in the end. That
And they will be the future leaders that will tell the Anthony Blinkens where to go.
exactly. I mean, you hear them. You say that. Uh, my son was in Gaza for 4 months, and he said it's a whole different. It's like you're there, and it's one world, and then you come out of there, and you're in a different world. You're in
Yeah.
you know cuckoo land when you come out of there, and hear people talk. But when you're in Gaza,
Right.
fighting side by side is like there's no arguments, there's no everybody's together, everybody's focused on destroying the enemy. So that's at the very least we have that, and hopefully that'll be the factor, the missing link
Right.
that leads us to the final redemption. And we know
Right.
that's always we know that it's true nefesh, the willingness to give of ourselves to sanctify God's name, to free the land of Israel, to defend the Jews. That's always been the deciding factor. That's always been the deciding factor. And and what's great is and apparently also when we discuss about the idiots that run the army here and how they conducted the war, it's obvious that they had no trust in the Israeli soldiers. They waited so long and they didn't trust them. They didn't trust the Jews that were going to fight. But they were wrong. That the human factor of the Jewish warrior was not taken
Yeah.
into account, and that's the difference. Um, so we're uh, we're moving along here. We just circled the Temple Mount. We're about to leave. Um, again, Fortunately, there are a lot more Jews today than there were before. There's Jews are praying. We can give this Torah, we can do this Torah program up here. So we always have to look at the positive side. But then there's always, again, the negative side that there's not enough Jews up here. And
Mhm.
we need more. And we need to take the place over, restore it to what it was and what it's supposed to be.
Yes.
And like the Parsha says, everything will be good. Blessing and happiness and so on.
100%.
What?
100%. 100%.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Here we go. We just got off the mountain.
Laura?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do it next week.
Yeah. Next week.
We'll try to do it every week, the Parsha.
Next week is we have Yom Yerushalayim, the Jerusalem Independence Day is next week.
Right.
We have that, and then we have on Friday is Rosh Chodesh, and then we have the week after Shavuot. So we have some important dates coming up. And we'll talk about all of that, as well as the portion of the week, and discuss as the war progresses, and hopefully
Absolutely.
we'll see bigger and better things happen.
Yes.
I think any day now the war up north is gonna break out. Right now it's just skirmishes, but
Right.
I think they're realizing that there's no dealing with the Hezbollah, and they're gonna have to go in and do major damage to Lebanon. And it's unfortunate for a lot of the Lebanese people who sure don't want it, but they left the Hezbollah there to run the show.
Right.
They're gonna get the payback for that,
Yep. Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay. So
Thank you, Baruch.
all right.
We'll continue next week. Thank you very much.
Okay, take care.